Hi folks, here's another NewEarth update for the second week of April. It begins with a rift in the space-time continuum above Earth. So I just sort of started seeing this yellow vortexical opening, aperture, between spirit and the Earth, but at least in the Earth's atmosphere. So this is more like the upper world. And then six beings with a shared face of an elliptical, luminous shape gaze upon the Earth, whose duty it is to guide the development of the planet. Now, these six figures were veiled or cloaked in dark robes, and they were looking into six windows into the state of the Earth. Now, through these viewing portals, I don't know what they were seeing, but I get a sense I know what they were doing. They were seemingly a continuation of the Bahamas reading and the previous week's reading, where a figure, a mystic, overlooks the ocean, where a great civilization will rise again, from the ocean. And enormous volumes of light data enters into and is shared by the Earth. So here's the lone mystic and looking over the ocean, and here are these enormous funnels or tubes of light that are bringing in all this new light energy. And in the next image, I saw through this figure's eyes of seeing a gateway or doorway opening. And this figure had their arms up, raised to the heavens. That's that image right there. Now, the next image was intriguing. It showed the formation of these floating stairs through from a rainforest floor. So it's still tropical, subtropical conditions, like in the Bahamas reading. Towards the equator. However, and in this one, it was rising from the forest floor to this stairway was rising from the forest floor to the canopy, and at the floor were these hands, and now these hands were reaching up towards this stairway, and so it was like this new light was triggering or being the catalyst for these spiritual earth-based changes. And these hands, they were pink and soft, and but I could tell that they were spirits whom had not left this earth. So, I don't think it's as... it was like their consciousness had merged with Gaia's, not like a discarnate spirit like a ghost, but they were ancestral spirits who had chosen to stay in the forest, in the earth, to continue their life more as a merged consciousness with the spirit of the earth, Gaia. Now, in the next image, one of these robed figures from the second vision, I call them a custodian. A custodian places its face into the pool of light. So the stairway leads up to this pool of light, and one of them places their head into this liquid light. And when its face enters it, from the earth plane's perspective, how that kind of manifests is it's gigantic in the earthly realm and reaching all the way through the middle world to the lower world. So it was it's interesting how these perhaps our scale physically, energetically, it translates into godlike scale. Here on Earth. Now, in the next image, I saw a blue crystalline headed figure. So there's a return of this, blue energy with a fish's tail or a serpentine tail rising from the water. And, it did remind me of like an old illustration of a mermaid I'd once seen, where, so it, and it was like this, mystics on this rocky outcrop overlooking the ocean. His mind was like, it was, what did I write? Where the archetypal mythological consciousness meets the interplanetary cosmic forces. How certain higher levels of consciousness manifest/incarnate when entering Gaia's consciousness. We perceive them as deities, or mythological beings. So it was like he was perceiving himself as a merman, or because it did seem like a male energy, and these two consciousnesses or worlds are always play a huge part in my readings and in the journeys of these readings. So and it's insightful, at least to me, to see how these myths can also be interpreted as interdimensional or interplanetary. These extraterrestrial influences in our life and spiritual life, which is one and the same, are perceived by our subconscious and our superconscious. So in the next image, I saw this figure, basically channeling this energy towards the earth in much in an equivalent way to those pillars of light that were entering the ocean. And there's that mer figure, but it was from behind, so it was like a point of view shot of this mystic. And then in the next image, the mystic had company, and they were directing his channel of light away from the earth and the ocean to the stars. And then when he did this, or when they did this, he, like a spaceship, kind of revealed itself from the sky, or like became visible and opened up and energetically pulled them into the spacecraft. And however, it was then shown as this craft with a dragon's head. So there was these, how it was and how it was perceived energetically as this, dragon. And, what I call a serpent of transformation. And, so this figure was taken by this dragon and consumed and into the night sky. Next image was when I saw it, I thought, it looks like a fortress. So it was like this bunkered space. Like I used to call them pocket dimensions, but it's like a space station, kind of like a space station, but it's a residency in our atmosphere that can't be seen. So that I saw, satellites and other things kind of going around it, oblivious to its existence. And then I saw, and like there was a sense of, abduction, alien abduction. But there was definitely ceremony and intentionality and volition, choice about it. In the next image, second last image, I saw myself. And I was floating up between these two spheres of the universe and the earth. And my head was this ball of light, or a disc of light. It was more, flat or lozenge in form. And there were 4 serpents of transformation coming from my mind. Maybe 2 for above and 2 for below. And then and that reminds me of a Hermetic axiom, which is as above, so below, as within, so without. The final image was these cloaked or veiled custodians visiting the earth here in the middle plane, but they were riding a serpent of light. But this serpent's head was quite alien. It looked more like a worm, or something you'd imagine seeing in the film June, or in the deepest reaches of the ocean. I remember seeing a blind kind of eel with a few teeth, but the serpent too was also luminous, and it actually reminds me of an image I saw of. There we go. Ooh, that's better. From a reading I did for Pip. And it was of these figures riding these serpents, looking for life forms on the old Earth to transition into the new Earth. So thank you everyone for watching, and that is this week's New Earth update. Cheers, bye.